I'm here today with professional boxer Zach Evans. So, Zach, you turned professional recently. You had your first fight last month. So, have you found the experience of turning pro so far, and how did you find your first fight?
The experience turnover pro I found good, but it also comes with a lot of stresses. The stress mainly because you don't know what to expect entirely because there's so many things you have to go through in terms of medicals and scans and all sorts, and just trying to get the money for it when you're starting boxing. You're not really getting paid much, so it's trying to get things like sponsorships to help cover your costs or funding it yourself. It's all things like that that you don't really think about. You just think you turn pro, you have a fight, it's going to be all great, but it's all stress like that. But no, I enjoying the process and that training and doing the fights like how I was when I was amateur, but a lot more exciting now with the more atmosphere at the shows and everything. So yeah, overall enjoyed it.
So, you do get quite a lot of, as you kind of just went into a little bit there, you do get quite a lot of boxers that they say the switch going from being an amateur to going pro. It is quite a big step up in terms of sometimes like the training and stuff like that. So training wise and stuff like that, has it been quite different or has it not been too big of a switch, like quite an easy transition?
It's quite a difference with the transition, to be fair, because I like to think of it. Amateur boxing's a bit like a sprint race, and then professional boxing's a bit like a marathon. You kind of slow everything down a bit, try and perfect things, and you sit down a lot more with your shots and that. You're not trying to just score points as quick as you can and the fight's over after 9 minutes. You've kind of got more time because there's more rounds and it just kind of goes on a lot longer. So it's more patient as opposed to just rushing, trying to get as much shots off and just win a fight and move on to your next one. It's just a lot more relaxed with the pace, but there's more to get out of it than just scoring a quick win.
So for anyone who might not know you, how did you get started in boxing then?
I first started kickboxing when I was 13, and I did light continuous kickboxing. And then after that, I progressed onto the full contact. After doing the full contact, I then moved up to York, and then I started doing K1, which is the low kick version of kickboxing. And from there, I started amateur boxing at the same club, which is Legions. And then from there, just started doing amateur boxing. Then after lockdown, I moved back to the West Midlands and continued my amateur boxing career down here. And now I've just turned professional. So started in the kickboxing and kind of moved from there into amateur and now gone professional.
Do you think kickboxing's something you'd ever try again in future, potentially after boxing, or do you think that's something that's kind of just over now?
To be fair, obviously it's something I get asked a lot because people are just genuinely interested in asking the question, but I'd never say no. But with how I've progressed with the boxing now and how I've got used to it, it is my preferred to the kickboxing because it's a lot more than just not kicking boxing. There's a lot more to it than just not using your legs compared to the kickboxing, but much prefer the boxing. So I don't want to say no completely, but I stick with boxing at the minute.
So out of all your fights so far, including kickboxing and amateur boxing and pros and everything, what would you say is the toughest fight you've had, or
I'd
someone that
probably say
stands out?
toughest one I had was my sixth fight, which was at the Haringey Box Cup in London. I fought Eugene McKeever, who's Irish national champion, who fought the World Championships. And it was his 106th fight and my sixth fight. So he had literally
Oh
100
wow.
fights more than me. And it was one of them where I was still getting used to the amateur boxing. I'd had 5 fights so far and I'd won all 5 of them and I was feeling good. And obviously, I knew stepping into this tournament where it's his biggest tournament in Europe, I knew it'd be tough. Had a good first fight the day before, get in the quarterfinal, moved on to the semi final against him. And it was just an experience difference. I just struggled to hit him. So, based on the fact I just couldn't land my shots and I was chasing him round and there was just a big experience gap, I'd say that was my hardest fight just because I was out of my depth in terms of experience. I just couldn't close the gap.
Would you say you've got a best memory from boxing so far?
What my best memory is,
Yeah.
I'd probably say winning the Midlands title because before COVID happened, I entered the national championships when I was up in York. And you start off in the regional stages. So I started in the Yorkshire stages. I won the fight to move on to the next round, but then lockdown happened. So then everything stopped. So 2 years later, I entered the Midlands because I'd moved back down. And then I had 3 fights in 1 week to win the Midlands title against the top lads in the region and then won it from there. So after having everything stopped for me before COVID in the regional stages, then come back into it and then win it to then go on to the national championships. I'd say that was my favourite memory so far.
Yeah, I remember with COVID, it was like obviously I was nowhere near your level or anything like that. But I remember when I was at Legions for a bit, it was like it was annoying because it was just at that stage where I thought I'm improving a little bit here, and then
Yeah.
kind of lockdown just comes and it's like, oh, never mind.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel you on that one.
So have you got any favorite fighters at the moment through and like any weight division, like any weight division basically? Have you got any favorites or?
My favourite boxer is Canelo Alvarez because I just love his style. I watch a lot of him, so I end up copying it a lot, which I shouldn't do because his style isn't perfect for my fighting style. He's a big power puncher, whereas I'm more of a close range fighter, mid range, and like to pick my shots as opposed to just trying to stop people. But Canelo Alvarez is my favourite. Other than that, no one really comes close in terms of favourite fighters, but there's a lot I like to watch. But Canelo.
So what are your goals for the year ahead in boxing, would you say? Is there like a certain amount of fights that you'd like to have or any opponents you've got your eye on or anything like that?
At the minute, with it being me having just had my first fight, this year's more like my learning year. So we're going up against like journeymen who are there to help give me the experience. So I'm hoping for about 3 to 4 fights this year just to get me learning on the way. And then next year, push on towards hopefully fighting for a Midland title and winning that like I did as an amateur. And then from there, pushing on, climbing up the ranks and hopefully getting more belts.
Are there any belts that you're kind of aiming for in the future that you'd hopefully like to fight for?
Like to fight for the Midlands one and then literally just every belt after that. But obviously, everyone's dreams WBC world title. So that's the ultimate aim. But current aim, Midlands title, and then future aim, English, British, work your way up and then world title.
So if you could have like a dream scenario, like your dream fight against somebody, who would you want that to be against?
It's hard to say, to be fair, because by the time I got to that level, like it could be a few years away, I'd say. So the people who would have the belts at the minute wouldn't be there. But Terence Crawford, who's the world champion at welterweight, which is the weight I'd fight at. If I somehow get to that level when he's still active, I think he'd be retired. I'd love to have fought him and beat him because he is exceptional at that weight and he's undefeated. So it'd be great to beat someone like him, but he'll probably have retired by then.
Yeah, I love Terence Crawford, but it's just so annoying that they can't get that Errol Spence fight to happen. That's a
Yeah,
fight I've been
yeah.
waiting for so long. But
Definitely think Crawford takes it though.
yeah, I think so, to be fair, because I mean, it just seems like even when he's getting beaten, he finds a way to win somehow.
Yeah, I think he's just too technically smart. Boxing IQ is a lot better than Errol Spence, but Errol Spence is a power puncher, so you
Yeah.
don't know.
So what would you say your most favorite things and your least favorite things about being a boxer?
Well, I'll start with the least favorite, which is probably everyone in this kind of sport's least favorite, and that's the making the weight and being strict on the diet all the time. No one enjoys that part. Best bit is probably just enjoy developing in the sport. So like when you're making progress and getting better, because you have good days and bad days. So them days where you're really feeling good about it, your progress is showing. They're probably my favorite days.
So you got your second fight coming up then on June the 10th at Dudley Town
Yeah.
Hall. So how are you feeling ahead of that? And for anybody who might be wanting to see your fight that's not seen your fight before, what can they kind of expect from you and your fighting style?
My fighting style, I'd say mid to close range. I like to get involved in a fight, which I probably shouldn't do most of the time, but it's just the way I like to go about it. But I can box. But the opponent I've got for this is a bit of a likes to give it a good go and try and mug you off and kind of put the power shots in against you. So I would imagine it'd be a very entertaining fight where I've got to keep switched on and smart. So we'll see how it goes. But I do get dragged into a fight as much as I shouldn't. I do get dragged into it and I do enjoy it. So I'd say it's entertaining to watch me because I like to get involved and I can sometimes show me edge movement, my boxing ability. I just choose not to a lot of the time.
Have you got any names revealed yet for an opponent, or is that something we can expect in the next few weeks?
He'll probably get announced in the next few weeks, but I know his name, but well, I did know his name, I just can't pronounce it because he's from Bulgaria. So I don't
All
even
right.
want to try and pronounce the name.
Well, thank you very much for your time, then, Zach. It's much appreciated. So, yeah, good
No
luck for
problem,
your
Alfred.
fight that you got coming up, then.
Cheers. Thank you very much.